Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the final presentation of today's conference. Thank you for staying up so late. Everyone joining at home, thank you for sacrificing your Friday evening. And I've heard some people are joining from Seattle, so the Microsoft headquarters. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. Quick introduction for those of you who haven't seen me before. My name is Patrick. I was here the last two VIScons, actually. Apparently, I'm the only record holder who's been at all VIScons so far. So thank you very much for having me. I actually finished my master's at ETH in 2017. I remember being in this room quite a lot through my bachelor years. So if you're a computer science student, I feel for you. 1 month later, I actually joined Microsoft as a program manager in Paris, worked on multiple different things, and started to get some footing into the whole career life at Microsoft. Around 2 years later, I joined Microsoft as a premier field engineer in Zurich. Premier field engineer is basically when you travel around Europe and you help customers. So it's the other spectrum from engineering. It's not creating products, it's more helping people using them. Then, beginning of this year, I had the pleasure to join the mixed reality and AI team here in Zurich. They work on HoloLenses and basic services and mixed reality services thereof. We're not here to talk about myself, we're here to talk about the HoloLens. Quick show of hands, I know virtually this is going to be difficult. Who has seen a HoloLens before or know what a HoloLens is? Yes. So I asked this question last time, actually, a year ago, and about 10% of people raised their hands. So it's good to see that this is like 90% now. For those of you who don't know what a HoloLens is, you might have seen a virtual reality goggle. Those are goggles that cover your entire face, and you're completely submerged into the virtual reality. Now, this is great for some scenarios, for games, maybe watching movies, just to be entirely submerged. It's really nice. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you don't want to be in a completely different place. Sometimes you still want to be here, but still be able to interact with the virtual world. So this is where the HoloLens comes in. The HoloLens doesn't cover your face completely. The HoloLens actually has see-through panels. So you can see through them while wearing them. You see the real reality, as per se, and you see holograms on top of that, as we can see in this video just now. We can see holograms, for example, here on a motorbike. It adds information. Now, the motorbike is real, while the holograms are virtual. Maybe you're trying to fix your motorbike. Another example would be in medics. Maybe you're working on a patient and you want to have information while you work. In this case, actually, we have a trainees, who are just getting acquainted with everything. I want to quickly take you back to a year ago. I was standing in front of you showing not only the HoloLens, but how easy it is to get started, how easy it is to implement something on the HoloLens. And what we did is we implemented a floating cube. So that was quite nice and quite cute. This year, we're going to kick it up a notch.
With HoloLens, we can create a completely different experience.
With the PTC Vuforia solution and the Microsoft HoloLens together, I think we can really change the industrial market.
The digital model is now becoming part of our physical reality. We're leveraging the Azure GPU stack because there we can compute all the graphics in the cloud and then stream just what we need to the HoloLens.
Today, Howden is pulling ThingWorx data that's operating on an Azure IoT cloud environment, and it's overlaying that information through mixed reality.
Our ultimate goal is to help doctors do procedures better, to help them innovate the procedure.
I think we can really provide a transformative experience for our customers in the industrial market.
Understanding how things are going to happen today, tomorrow, into the future, it's really just a game changer.
I love this video, just simply because it's throwing all the buzzwords of mixed reality into one video. Like jokes aside, we saw different use cases here. Again, we went from a small cube from last year, now we're thinking bigger, we're thinking buildings. We saw a video of motorbikes before, so larger, we saw medic equipment, we saw larger machines where you can put holograms on top of. Now, a lot of those scenarios have one thing in common, which you may not have noticed, and that one thing is alignment. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say I have a motorbike, which we saw in the first video. Now, if I want to see extra information on that motorbike, that hologram needs to be aligned to the bike. If my bike is here and the hologram is somewhere else, this is not that useful. I would have to keep walking back and forth. Same thing for when I'm in a room or on some kind of construction site, and I want extra information about the building. Let's say, for example, where the heating or the electricity is. I want this to be aligned to the building as well. And by the way, if it's not clear by now, I have no idea about motorbikes and architecture, as you can see, but the point is that those things need to be aligned. Now, there's multiple ways we can achieve this. I'm going to quickly cover two. The first one is very easy, but it's kind of pushing the problem to the end user. It's very easy to implement an application where you can move your holograms. So I can just ask the user in the beginning, hey, please tell me where your motorbike is. Please align this virtual motorbike to your real motorbike. That would work, and then everything is aligned. But imagine you have to do that every time you actually want to see some holograms. Even worse, when we look at the building hologram, imagine you're inside the building, you have the hologram of the building around you, and you have to align this. Really difficult, and again, not very user-friendly, so there has to be a better way. Now, usually what people think of when we talk about alignment, we think of QR codes. Now, the HoloLens can detect the QR code, and as we see in this video, it's possible to, well, align your holograms with this. We see how the QR code is aligned, and we can align our holograms with this. Which means now we would have to stick QR codes on all our motorbikes and on our walls and everything where we want to have holograms projected. This is not necessarily a bad solution. It's just not that optimal. Depending on what you want to do, QR codes are perfectly fine. But wouldn't it be nice if I don't need any of this, if things would just work? Well, welcome, Azure Spatial Anchors. Kind of slid that in there. Azure Spatial Anchors are, in the beginning, a bit difficult to understand, especially if you haven't heard anything related to features or anything related to computer vision. So I wanted to bring this technology a bit closer to everyone. Even if you don't have a PhD in computer vision, I hope you'll understand this. Let me tell you a story about Street Parade. So back in the days, when we were still able to have festivals, to be in large crowds. So this was Street Parade last year. Now this is actually a true story, I'm not kidding. Everything you're about to see actually happened. And then I'll tell you why it's related to spatial anchors. So I was at Street Parade last year. For those of you, by the way, joining from Seattle, Street Parade is, I'm going to say, just to be safe, one of the largest techno festivals of the world. I've heard it was the largest as well, just to be safe. A lot of people, as you can see, and it's right here in Zurich. So I was there last year, and I was at Utoke. So that's just, again, for those people joining from the US, it's one part of Zurich. Now, it was evening. It was not as empty as you can see here, but that's the nicest picture I could find. I was there with a couple of friends, finishing up our last beer, and then around midnight-ish or so, we thought, okay, let's call it a day. Let's go home. So we said our goodbyes. I started walking home, and then I got a message from my good friend Kai. And he asked, hey, I'm still here, somewhere else with another group. Do you want to join me for a beer? And as you can see by my fake screenshot here, it was around midnight with 70% battery left. So I thought, why not? So I enthusiastically said, yes, let's go. Now the obvious question, where are you? So he replied quite quickly, stage C. Now this is a problem because stage C looked like this, which did not help me at all. So I was about to respond to him, yeah, funny man, I'm not going to find you. I'm just going to go home. But then he sent me another message. Now here's usually where I see an age gap, where some of you are probably thinking, well, it's obvious what the next message is going to be, and other people are thinking, well, no, this is not really a problem we can solve. And by the way, GPS does not work. I'll get into it why in a second. So if you don't have GPS, I'm tearing down the lecture hall here. If you don't have GPS, try to imagine what the next message will be. Now, I've heard of some people that this is quite obvious, and I've done this a lot of times, usually people who have been at festivals or large gatherings, trying to find their friends. Others have no idea what's going to come. For those who guessed it, I got a picture. This is the actual picture I received, by the way. I anonymized it by just putting fake hats and sunglasses on everyone. But yeah, I dug out this from my WhatsApp chats. Now with this picture, I clearly saw, well, we have a mask in the middle, and I saw they're a bit on the right side of the stage. So a few minutes later, I was able to find him. Cool. So let's go over this again, but this time let's think of me and my friend Kai not as a person. Let's think we're two devices, two HoloLenses. So he's asking me for a beer, I say yes, I ask him, where are you? At this point, the two of us as devices have now a problem, and the problem is he has to describe his location to me in a way that I can find him. Sounds very simple, but obviously it's not. Now, the first thing we do is we start with coarse relocation. If I was a stupid device, I would have no idea. He could be literally anywhere in this universe. I do have some background knowledge of, first of all, I know he's here, so I know he's in Switzerland, I know he's in Zurich, I know he's in Street Parade. In fact, I know he's in stage C. So that narrows it down at least a bit. He's not anywhere on this earth, he's at stage C. Now, we saw a picture of this. He could send me GPS. Yes, of course, we've done that before. But let's, for example, assume his GPS, he's here, and he sends me his GPS location. Now, for anyone who's been in large crowd gatherings, your GPS has, there's a lot of interference, and there's some kind of inaccuracy, of course, as well. So he could be anywhere here at this point. Me, when I receive his location, my GPS, I don't have the golden GPS, so I have the same problem. Let's assume I'm over here, so my inaccuracy is around that. So we could be, 10 meters apart, 5, and our GPS location would say, well, you're on the same location. But of course, at this point, it would still be difficult to find. Right, let's have a look at this picture, but not from a human perspective, from a HoloLens perspective. He didn't send me any picture. For example, he didn't send me a picture of his feet or take a selfie. Why not? Yes, it would be funny, but it's not really helpful for me. Why? Because there's a lot of people everywhere. So even if I am at stage C, there's going to be a lot of occlusion by people, by smoke, by everything. So the chances of me seeing his face or his feet are almost zero. He also didn't send me a picture of the sky or the concrete. If I was a device and I received an image of the sky, I would just look up and realize, well, it looks the same. So technically I found you, but obviously I'm not at the same place. So it would look the same, even though we're not. There's one more picture he did not send me either. It's if you look at, hope I can do this, there we go. He didn't send me a picture of just this thing. So this is a stick with a hand on top of it, and someone waving it. Super fun, but we don't know if this hand is going to stay there. The guy probably also drank a few beers already, and by the time he sends me a picture and sends it to me, that hand might be gone. So not a picture of something that changes too quickly. So what did he actually send me? We see a mask here and a stand. So this thing is most likely not going to move. There were multiple stands with masks, so this only helps a bit, but at least it narrows it down. We see on the right side here some street signs, and on the left side here, we see the lasers. Obviously, the lasers are going to move, but the laser emitting device will not. So with this, I can now walk around, I can find these three features, these three items, and try to align them so my view looks exactly the same as he did. So, now that we've done this at 12:30, having had a few drinks, so shouldn't it be possible that technology also does this? So this is where Azure Spatial Anchors comes in. Azure Spatial Anchors, ASA for short, does exactly this. So what it does is, let's say I place some object here. So this is Kai, basically, and scanning around, sending me pictures, sending me features. So this is just the computer vision approach here. So I see the features, and they get uploaded to a cloud. So then later, another person, such as myself, can download the features again and reloc to that position. Great, you have just understood ASA, Azure Spatial Anchors. So you might wonder, great, what now? I mean, you're not going to go to a street parade with a HoloLens now, and you're not going to go to another festival with a HoloLens just so you can find your drunk friends. That's not the point. There are multiple scenarios that are unlocked by this. There are two I quickly want to highlight. One is persistence. So what I can do with this technology, I can place something, a car, hologram, on my desk. I scan the features, and then I come back 3 days later. I come back with a different device, but the features haven't changed, which means I can just reloc again to those features, and my hologram is still there, exactly where I left it. Different device, different app, different everything. The second very powerful key scenario that is being unlocked here is sharing. Let me show you the scenario. So we have a room, and there's some tables, and there's some chairs, and there's a plant there, just to kind of make it more visual for you. I'm here with a HoloLens, and you're there with a HoloLens. Again, let's go back to last year. We have a cube floating in front of us, 1 meter. So I start the app, 1 meter in front of me, there's a cube. Everything's beautiful. Now I'll ask you, with your HoloLens, to launch the same app. Now where do you think your cube will be? If you've paid attention, you realize, well, okay, it's going to be here. It's not going to be at the same spot where I had it. Now, why is this a problem? Because if I was pointing somewhere here and telling you, hey, look at this corner, for you, I would just be pointing into nothingness, because your cube's over here. And let's say even if our app synchronizes the movements, sorry, there we go. If our app synchronizes the movements, still, our holograms will not be at the same place. By the way, this implementation that you just saw with our cubes moving synchronously, that would be okay if we were in different rooms. Imagine you and I had a meeting, we're in different countries, I want to show you something, and then I turn in front of you. Perfectly fine. But here we're in the same room. We want to have the same coordinate system. We want to see the same cube. The reason why this is, by the way, we see the little coordinate systems on each of the HoloLenses. Every time the HoloLens launches the app, the 000 point, X, Y, Z, is where your face is, wherever you started. Which means I could stand here, I could start the app, my cube would be exactly 1 meter in front of me. I could walk around and the cube would stay there, and I could ask you, please stand exactly at the same spot, look at the exact same direction, and our coordinate systems would be aligned. Again, not super user-friendly, it could work. Let's go back. We have spatial anchors now. So instead of me creating a cube, how about I create an anchor? So I create a new coordinate system. Anchors have a position and a rotation. So I create this anchor over here, and I send you the ID of this anchor, which means I send you basically all the features of this anchor so you can find it. We do have features, we have tables, we have chairs, we have plants, we have everything. Which means when you find this anchor, you see that the exact same location. And this anchor is now basically part of the room. Now when I create my cube, I'm not going to create it 1 meter in front of me. I'm just going to say I'm going to create it 1 meter in front of that anchor. And I tell you, hey, I've created a cube 1 meter in front of that anchor. For you, this is at the exact same place as I can see it, which means that, again, becomes part of the room. So now if I point to a corner of that cube, you're going to see the exact same corner. Same thing if I move it around and I synchronize that movement, you're going to have the same movement on yours as well. Great, we're very good on time. This is the reason why most of you probably came and tuned in. I had the privilege, so inside Microsoft, there's an internal hackathon once a year. Basically, all engineers are allowed to do literally anything. We get a few days where we can just code whatever we want. Of course, ideally, it's related to something that we're also doing. So I thought, what if I take this cutting-edge, futuristic technology of tomorrow, to put all the buzzwords in there, and try to create something very simple and incredibly borderline stupid. So I thought, let's do beer pong. Fun fact, I actually don't even like beer, but I like the challenge of creating this in a virtual reality. So here's what I did. I created a little Azure server. Now, if you've just started with computer science, and if you're not a computer scientist, this sounds super scary. I will explain to you what it actually does. It's quite simple. So you have multiple clients, and a client can be any device, phone, a HoloLens, computer, that connects to the server and can send messages. So if I send a message to that server, all it does is it forwards that message to all the other clients. And it tells them who sent it. So for example, here we saw client A said yo. Let's look at a second example. C says lol, sends that up. And everyone else knows, okay, C said lol. Quite simple. I'm trying to start the animation. There we go. Now let's swap these laptops with HoloLenses. And instead of just saying hey and lol, what if we send spatial anchor IDs? Now what is the spatial anchor ID? It's whenever I create an anchor. So this is the abstraction. Whenever I use the ASA SDK, so I can start coding on it, I don't have to implement the whole feature thing. I just say, well, please create an anchor here, and then the SDK takes care of all the magic behind it. And what it gives me back an ID, which means when I'm on another HoloLens, or even the same HoloLens, I can ask, hey, I'd like to locate that anchor. And I just ask for the ID. Sorry, I send the ID. So here, client A created an anchor. The spatial anchor service gave us an ID, and we send that into my own service and distributed it to everyone. Cool. So now we all have the same anchor. There's a second thing we need. We need the position of the ball. So let's say B takes the ball, the little ping pong ball, and says, well, okay, I moved it to 102 away from the anchor. And we can send that to everyone, which means all the other HoloLenses can now move their ball also to that position. And we have beer pong implemented. Okay, who wants to see this live? Great. You did not raise your hand. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to ask my assistant quickly. By the way, huge shout out to Dave. He helped me last year as well. He has his own, thank you very much, his own startup called Remon. Go check him out. He's really, really helping me a lot here. I will quickly try to mute my screen. Thank you very much. For the warning before, we're going to turn on the HoloLenses now. Sounds like we're about to unleash some beast. You're not going to get hurt, don't worry. You'll be safe, you're behind this panel. No, the camera will be on and you will be streamed live and the whole world will see you. If you're okay with this, we actually did this last year as well. We're not going to use your faces for any data, plus half of your face is covered anyway. Okay, so I've just started the server. And what I will do now go for it. We might have to reconnect. So what we're doing now is, this is technically not quite a simple setup. The HoloLenses have to be in the same network, as the laptop in order for me to stream. For the spatial anchors itself, I just need an internet connection and it works. But of course, me having fun here, without you seeing it, is not really much fun. Okay, so you can see what I see. There's quite some delay. I think it's about 1, 2, 3 seconds. But that's okay. It's better than nothing. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk over here. And by the way, you see this is all real. This is not pre-recorded. So I'm going to start the Beerpong app. Okay. It's difficult talking with a 3-second delay. So we can see the Beerpong table is over here. It's literally in my face. That's because it started at 0, 0, 0. If Dave would be streaming his HoloLens, his table is somewhere in his face as well, so obviously not located. So if I would tell Dave, by the way, look at this corner, for him, I'm pointing into absolute nothingness. And the streaming just stopped. Let's hope he gets back. Yeah, otherwise just restart it. Yeah, it's always a bit of a challenge when you try to project everything, but I thought this is VIScon, so I thought let's do this live. Worst case, I do have a video, which is, of course, only half as fun. There we go. We're back. Cool. So what I'm going to do, and you will see it in 3 seconds, I'm going to move this table wherever I want to. This is equivalent to me aligning something, so I could actually tell Dave, hey, move your table to exactly here as well. Well, we don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Start. And so what's going to happen is it's going to query the anchor. You're going to see a little cube underneath the table. That table was initially, the cube was initially yellow. Yellow just means, by the way, this is for my own debugging. Yellow just means I've requested an anchor creation. So what it did is it looked at all the different features that we can see here, and by features I mean just looking at the corners over here. There's lots of features underneath here as well. I know there's a 3-second delay. I need to slow down. So there's lots of features. So remember seeing the QR code at first? We didn't need to stick a QR code here. The algorithm was smart enough to figure out its own features here. So once he created an anchor, he made the cube down there, it made it blue. So I'm going to ask Dave to do so. Actually, it sent that anchor to Dave. And Dave's HoloLens immediately tried to find those features as well and put the table where I told him to. So I'm going to ask Dave, can you please point at your corners? And I'm going to walk there. And you can see this was not rehearsed. And it's actually pretty close. So we do have centimeter accuracy over here. So that was the anchor part. Now what I can do, I have the ball here. I can take it.
Yeah, you missed.
And I can throw it. And Dave can do the same. Now what you're going to see is a slight delay, because remember every little pixel that he moves the ball with gets sent to the server, gets sent back to my HoloLens, and then my HoloLens has to render it where the ball is. So that's why you usually see a slight delay when he's moving. This delay is a bit also increased because I'm also streaming over the internet, so we're kind of pushing the network hardware here a bit to the limit. And I realized Dave and I should have been practicing more Beerpong, because we're not... Nobody's really good at it. Right. There's a small thing. I mean, the funny thing, whenever people actually play this, they usually bend over the table without noticing it's a hologram. I can literally walk in here. So I can literally walk through the table and just put the ball in here. Thank you, thank you. All right. I'm going to stop projecting for a second. So I've been told that there's really not really a time limit since I'm the last one, so we can stay here until they turn out the lights. There's one last message I do want to give you, though. Something I wish I heard 3 years ago, but now I'm happy I'm going to be the one telling you. So the Mixed Reality and AI Lab, we're actually hiring, and we're not only hiring computer vision PhDs, we're actually hiring software engineers as well. So if you're interested, feel free to check out the Microsoft Careers page. It's going to be online soon, and then feel free to apply. And also, of course, ask me any questions if you have any. Thank you very much for your attention, and yes, have a good weekend for everyone who's streaming, and I'm open for questions now.
Thank you very much. Now to the questions. Are there any questions? Oh, I see there are questions online.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, congratulations. You lived a lifelong dream of me, playing beer pong in this very room.
We're happy to try it out afterwards. We have some disinfectant towels for the HoloLens.
So, sadly, there are no online questions, but I have a few myself. So, as you might see, I wear glasses. So, do you have any ideas how you could overcome this problem in the near future, besides wearing the obvious contact lenses?
You mean wearing glasses with HoloLens?
Yeah, especially for farsighted people that don't see.
Yes, so I do have a solution. So you wear your glasses, and then you put the HoloLens on. And then it works. But jokes aside, it's for some people, I've heard it's uncomfortable depending on the size of your glasses, but it is designed in a way for you to wear glasses underneath the HoloLens.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question, maybe also a solution for the first problem I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Viewing the possibilities of HoloLens, one can't deny that there are some similarities to the iPhone from Futurama. For all of you that are not familiar with Futurama, the iPhone is a contact lens-like device that is inserted onto your eye. And then that's basically what HoloLens does now. So is there any possibility that in the near future, maybe HoloLens could be scaled so much down that we could have the iPhone not only in science fiction, but in real life?
So I have to admit, I only know Futurama a bit. So what you explained, just to make sure, you're talking about having an actual lens that projects holograms on it, or on top of it. So basically a HoloLens as a lens.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. Near future, I would say no. With the HoloLens, what we're already trying to do, HoloLens is a standalone device. You saw we didn't have any wires or anything. So all computation power is on your head. And we already tried to reduce everything because yes, we could, in theory, you can put an entire PC on your head and then just have a HoloLens on top of that, super powerful, not very comfortable. So even with the HoloLens, we already had some challenges, making it small, making it light, making it balanced. And then, of course, you start with the whole heating problem. Hardware heats up. How do you do that? There's no fans on here. All these things. So we already reduced it a lot. Of course, we will always keep working on making it even smaller and even smaller and even lighter, so you can use it anywhere. To say that we're at a point of contact lenses, I would say we're still a few years out. There might be other solutions, such as remote rendering, where all you need, so nowadays, that's starting to come now, right? You don't buy a gaming PC anymore, you just stream it with a high-end networking card. So that works, but then you just need to have the network card still. So all these things are in development. I cannot say whether we will ever have it or not. I would say it's not near future, but I can imagine there are people working on it already.
Thank you very much. I might ask you the same question in a few years again.
Well, if you invite me again, yes. There's another question up there.
Yeah, up here.
Does this dice not work? I was looking forward to throwing this around in the room.
I think it's not Corona safe, that's why.
Okay. Sorry for touching it.
So thank you for this talk. So you were talking about the applications of the HoloLens too. And when you think about HoloLens, I think about the use in gaming, especially. And now we only saw, it's very impressive, like the use cases that you're planning to have with the HoloLens, like in construction or medicine. Are you is gaming still going to be a thing that interests you, HoloLens developers, or are you going to focus on these more everyday work scenarios?
I would say both. So the HoloLens 1, Microsoft wasn't 100% sure where it's going to land. It may have been planned for a consumer device, but so the HoloLens 2, for example, costs around 3,500 Swiss francs, euros, dollars, one of the three. For 3,500, you can get a really cool gaming PC. So we kind of realized, okay, consumer, maybe this is not the target group, but there's a lot of potential in the whole commercial business. Because 3,500 for something that saves you, an hour for a 2-hour job, that's a lot. Nevertheless, I think gaming is usually one of the first things people try on these things. Same with VR. Gaming was also one of the first things. It's still being developed. There's recently just been released a small game on the HoloLens. The problem is the target crowd. So most people that own HoloLenses are not nerds like the two of us. They're more the commercial people. And they don't buy these things to game on it. I would still think there is a future in gaming, definitely here. And those people who start developing now, they will have a head start once this thing kicks off. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Are there... I see a hand over there.
So, slightly a personal one. You said you graduated from ETH, but you didn't say which department. And I'm curious, how come the first job you landed was a program manager already?
So the first question was, how did you handle it? In which department? And then how I managed to get started as a program manager directly. So by department, do you mean which ETH track I did? So I'm going to sound old. Back in my days, we still had the general track. I think they changed it this year, am I correct? So you no longer can do a general track. What I can recommend for anyone who's thinking about which track to choose, how I did it, I just looked at all the lectures, and I picked the ones I liked, and then I saw where it would fit in a track. To me, my general track, officially it's general, but unofficially it's 98% computer vision, computer graphics. I chose a different seminar. That was all. I did in crypto security or something. But everything else was based on the computer vision track. Yes. So that actually helped me a lot. It still helps me now. I work with only PhD, so senior scientists. Of course, I will never understand the full details that they know, but it helps me get started and at least more or less understand the fundamentals of what we're talking about here. Your second question of how I managed to get a program manager role directly, that is a good question. I'm also not quite sure. I actually gave a presentation on this on my first VIScon appearance. I met Microsoft, another program manager, at the Kontakt Party. Again, for those joining from somewhere else, Kontakt Party is a job fair that we have at ETH that is specific for computer science. So I met someone from Microsoft there, and they asked me, hey, what do you think of being a program manager? And I was still in my master's. And my first question was, I have no idea what a program manager is. And still, people don't really know. Nevertheless, then she started explaining, program manager is basically, you're the glue between everything. So you have the engineers, the scientists, the tech guys, they're super strong in this thing. And then on the other hand, you have all the leads, the executives making all the larger decisions. Now, there's usually someone who has to kind of connect those two and speak the two different languages, even if it's both English. So usually for the execs and for the leads and everyone, I'm like the tech nerd who knows about the tech. For all my scientists, I'm more the manager role because I bring the messages from there. So you learn things at ETH, they give you the basis. I can't say I'm using algorithms or something that I've learned at ETH. But I did learn the communication skills and just basically helping wherever you can, like seeing problems first, and also how to tackle certain problems. You kind of break them apart and go list by list. Yes, so if you're interested, I recommend watching the talk about how to become program manager. That was 2 years ago, on VIScon, where I basically go over exactly these things, such as what ETH teaches you and what ETH also doesn't teach you to become a program manager. Yeah, you might wonder why there were not many people from ETH trying to get a job at Microsoft, since it's one of the big four, big five. There's one small downside to it, and it's that they didn't have any openings in Switzerland back then. And that kind of turned off a lot of people from that desk. So a lot of people said, okay, I actually want to start in Zurich. And I thought, okay, I'm open, and Paris is not that far away. And I really, really liked the whole role. I still do. And the interviews are also very fun. It's much more just brainstorming. During my interviews, I was asked to... One question was, how do you evacuate Paris? So it's questions like this. It's not... You might have heard of the typical question about how many ping pong balls can I fit in a Smart, or how many piano tuners do we have in Switzerland? These are estimation questions. They're slightly outdated. They usually don't get asked anymore. What is more asked, and what I noticed during the program manager interviews, are these just kind of design and kind of let's see what we would do. A very famous book is How to Move Mount Fuji. If I would ask you, you have Mount Fuji, and you want to move that 1 meter to east, how would you do this? Now, of course, it seems like an impossible task, but then it's how you approach it. So that's the program manager's job. You break apart, you try to find the experts on different subjects. It's not you who knows everything, but it's you who knows everything about nothing. And that's the important part. Did I answer your question? Sorry, I kind of started to ramble.
Do we have any other questions? Anyone? Anyone online? Oh, I have one down here.
Well, thank you for your talk. And I got a question. We saw that video streaming was kind of lagging behind and also only possible in the local network. I imagine it would be a very huge opportunity for this HoloLens to allow technical or consultants to work remote on the job site, because the travel costs are a huge part of the costs that incur when somebody is hiring a consultant for a minor technical issue in the production plant. Is this pursued to allow such remote technical support, or what are the plans? You said, well, the application field is mainly the business currently, and how are the plans for that? That's also a very important aspect in the when running businesses.
It's a very good question, and I like that you came from the latency that we just experienced. It was actually, I don't know if it's one of our first products or one of the first things we looked into. Everything you said was exactly right. The amount or the cost that you can save from not having to fly in an expert or a consultant and just having him connect via, I'm going to say Teams, and then being able to remotely help you. So that exists. It's called dynamic guides. They're working on this at the moment and still improving everything. I'm going to be honest, I haven't tried it. I don't know what the latency is like. I can imagine that with the voice being slightly late, as long as you package everything together. So what I could do as well, what you saw, I disabled the microphone for the stream because I'm wearing one already. If I was enabling the microphone, it would enable the microphone on the HoloLens, and then everything would be perfectly synced. Yes, it would be 3 seconds late, at least in this case. I don't know the latency about guides, how quick they are. I would have to try it out. But I'm going to strongly assume there's no latency between the voice and the picture. Yeah. And they actually go so far as, let's say I'm the guy who has a problem, I wear the HoloLens, you're the guy helping me. When you connect, you not only see what I see, you can also add holograms to my view. So you can point, you can create arrows and saying, well, check this case or press this button, and you can literally point there, even if you don't have a HoloLens. Yes, so that is currently in production and still being built, but very well noticed.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
This is not staged, by the way. I'm not sure what he's going to ask now.
So yeah, as you mentioned, that we are the two nerds in here that actually own HoloLens 2 ourselves. Now,
by the way, our lab owns it. I don't have one.
Okay. So I'm the only one who owns one. But anyways, from the HoloLens 1 to the HoloLens 2, it was a literally major game changer. It makes the first one look like a prototype, basically. Now, what do you expect for the next generation? Like how? Because for me, this is already a really great product. How do you think this could proceed even more?
Yeah, putting me on the spot here. Trying to think how to best answer this. So there's currently nothing announced, nothing released about HoloLens 3. What I can tell you is that we will always look at the current problems that the HoloLens have. So we will listen to our customers, obviously. One thing, for example, a lot of people, when they wear it, they will mention the field of view. I know in the stream it looks beautiful, but when I wear it, it's actually just around this much that shows me the holograms. So if I have a hologram over here, I would have to turn my head slightly. So an ideal case, of course, is a whole 180, or I'm not sure what our eye angle is the entire view. But then again, we have the problem, well, you need more computing power, which makes the whole thing heavier and hotter. But that is one thing that we might look into. Same with weight. We probably don't want to go heavier than this. Then the HoloLens currently, since we're looking at commercial purposes, we have received basic feedback that people have tried to use HoloLenses in very hot environments, such as 40 degrees and very, very hot and very, well, imagine a sauna. Okay, no one's going to wear a HoloLens in a sauna, but imagine that kind of environment. HoloLens cannot do that yet. This is not waterproof. But let's say you're working outside of a ship and you want that to work. Currently, there's problems with the whole movement of the ship and, of course, with the salt water. So all these things, we will always listen to our customers and see, okay, what are the burning points there? That is as much as I can say. There's nothing officially released that I even know of the HoloLens 3. But yes, we will keep listening, keep learning. So this is not a device that we just threw over the fence and said, have fun, we're done, we're going to go home. We will always keep listening to everyone. I hope this did not look staged. It was not staged.
Thank you very much. If my understanding is correctly, all the questions were answered. I would like to thank Patrick very much for coming out here. As he said, it's his third time. Hope to see you next year too. That was it for tonight. There will be more talks tomorrow, and I hope you have a nice evening. Thank you.